I'm Jorie Wisnefski. I'm the marketing manager at Urban Machine. Urban Machine is a robotics company that reclaims wood waste so that it can be reused again as premium lumber. I'm brought to you by Eric Law, our CEO at Urban Machine. And Frank, will you say your last name to me so that I don't mess it? Because I have Wisnefski, so I know.
No worries.
Yeah.
Addiego.
Okay, see, I would have totally said it wrong. I'm really glad I asked. The president at All Bay Lumber Mill and Yard. I think I said that backwards. But
That's all right. That's
good. Good.
It is a mouthful.
Well, when you have a lot to do there, then it makes sense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you two even meet? How did this whole thing happen? Urban Machine, just to give a little history, Urban Machine has been working with All Bay Lumber, and we are actually having some testing done. Our machine is being tested out there. So I'll let you guys kind of take it from there. What's happening? How did it start?
Eric, I'll let you start it because you reached out to me via LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And that's where we connected.
Yeah, so I started reaching out to lumberyards around the San Francisco Bay Area when we were starting Urban Machine, and who do we sell this material to? And Frank said, "Yeah, I want to chat with you." And Frank's been an awesome partner for us here at Urban Machine. And I told him kind of our plans. This was probably about a year and a half ago. I think we connected up.
Yeah, definitely over a year.
Yeah, and so we started chatting about our process of reclaimed lumber, and Frank said, "Hey, I've got this big lumberyard up here in American Canyon. If you guys want to store some material here, I don't think you realize I'd take him up on it as much as I have." And he said, "I got these trucks that run backwards empty, after they deliver material." And so we took advantage of those, and we've been doing some test runs there. And now we're at his facility. He gave us some real estate, and our machine is up there cleaning lumber. And the dusty, actually, it's a really nice, clean lumberyard Frank's got. It should be dirtier, but they do a great job up there as crew.
Thank you.
And we're running larger volumes of material through it. So all the material that we've been storing at his yard, we now run through our machine. And then the great part is after we can nail it, then Frank's crew can take it and turn it into finished products for some of our test customers. And so that's been going really well. At least from our side. Hopefully Frank agrees.
Absolutely. It was when Eric reached out to me. We arranged a visit over at their facility in Oakland, and they were kind enough to show my salesman Jose and I how the machine functions, and it was really an impressive setup. It's definitely the prototype phase, but it was amazing how they streamlined the real pain of denailing product, and I was excited to see some of the 4x16s. I think were some of the first joists that he pulled out of a school, and we were making samples and whatnot for him out of that stock, and I think we were both. We knew that it was going to look good, but I think we were both pretty amazed at how much clear product came out of it, and vertical grain, 1x6s that we could have made, all out of what was, structural framing lumber that came out of the school. So it was the potential that Eric had not stumbled upon, but had working towards is self-evident once you see how much product that machine can really spit out. And they've been a great tenant here for the past month. Our guys are really excited to see the machine function, and I know they've all taken time to talk to the gentleman and see, and I think they've all added advice as well at times. Some of it might have been a little unwelcome, but it's been exciting to have here. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
So just backtrack all the way to the beginning again. Eric, you said you reached out to Frank on LinkedIn. How did you even find him on LinkedIn? What was your
searching
search?
for lumberyards. I've made a list of lumberyards here in the San Francisco Bay Area, predominantly ones that had mills. Frank's got one of the few large lumberyards with a mill on site. We have lots of them that kind of inventory material and sell you material, but very few of them actually have working mills on them. And so that's how I picked him, and just he was on LinkedIn. The other thing too is not many of the management team of Lumberyards are on LinkedIn. Frank is, we'll call him one of the more technology and advanced sales and marketing folks in the lumber industry here. Most of the lumberyards barely have a page on LinkedIn, let alone their team on it. And Frank's does, and reached out to him that way.
And Frank, had you ever done anything with reclaimed lumber before?
We've been certified, FSC certified for quite a few years now, and some of the focus on our projects were more municipal based, schools, hospitals, and government type work. So I'm aware of the market for certified / reclaimed and reused lumber, and it's a really hard market to find product. You know, when there's a spec that calls for it, you know, people that are in the business that do have that material basically create their own prices. And, you know, there was something missing in the pipeline when it came to it. So it was one of those catchphrases that as he reached out to me, I did some research on what Urban Machine was and on the page that he had, and I was really excited that somebody was generating this kind of product, at least in the Bay Area.
Right. So it was interesting enough to like pay them a visit and
absolutely.
See where that. How long until you guys actually met in person and
it was pretty quick from the first contact. Probably within a week or two, and just creating a day for Jose and I just to drive up, because we're only about a half hour with no traffic from their location.
Does that ever happen?
Yeah, no. For a tiny little window, yeah.
Yeah.
We are connected by one of the worst freeways in the United States, and that is Highway 80.
Yeah.
If you time that wrong, it's a long,
Yeah.
slow drive.
So some of the neat stuff that we were able to do at the very beginning was generate some samples for them to take photographs for the glue lamps. Because I didn't want to say the second project that Eric was involved in was that Arco Arena. So we still got some of those glue lamp beams here waiting to be remanufactured.
Okay, so actually I'm going to show you.
And that's probably been one of the funnest parts of this project is, you know, you take apart these old lumber that's all beat up, it's survived excavators and trucks and stuff coming off the job sites, and then we get the metal out of it, and then we run it through Frank's planer and his mill there, and suddenly you have beautiful glue lamp sticking out at you, like, wow, this is phenomenal. And we show it off to architects, and the architects are like, hey, this is very cool. We showed it off to some designers, some furniture designers, and some various folks, and they're like, wow, we never knew this was sitting on the inside. So there's definitely some, you know, beautiful material below the surface once you take off kind of that surface grit that's accumulated through the demolition deconstruction process, depending on where it came from. Or just living in the building. Maybe it had a rough life inside that building. But you take off, you know, an 1/8 inch on the surface, and suddenly it's beautiful, clean wood underneath. And it's got a darker color to it. You know, the cool part about Reclaim, you know, like on the wall behind me here, is it's definitely a darker brown to it than you get with virgin wood, which tends to be on the yellower side these days.
Like the wall behind me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm actually kind of curious, like fly on the wall, you are leaving Urban Machine for the first time, Frank, you and your business manager, and, or sales manager rather, and you guys are leaving and you're driving home. What's that conversation like?
It was exciting. I think Jose was kind of taken back by the kind of the rough nature of what that would look like, and it's not that he didn't see the potential. It was eye-opening for him once we remanufactured those beams themselves, and it's tough to see. It's almost for Jose didn't really see the potential at first, and then as soon as that stuff really came out, it blew his mind. We did a lot of rough cedar and redwood here in our yard that looks god awful until you've run it through the process, and you know, to me, you don't realize how different the wood was 20, even 30 years ago. And I think that school itself, Eric, was what, built 1962?
Yep, I believe so.
So just, we carry 4x16s here, and I could hold those two pieces up together, and the amount of grains per square inch are maybe 4 or 5 fold greater in the beam that was erected in 1962. So
Right.
it's the little subtle stuff that compound to show you what kind of potential you have in some of this stuff. Now, not all projects are going to have such virgin great wood. And that's where I think Urban Machine excels in taking the labor factor down because it's all automated.
Right.
He could actually find a commercial use for some of the lower grade, lower desirable wood because there are other waste streams that he's trying to close.
Yeah, absolutely. The first time I went out there was in December, and I was struck by the same thing. I still have yet to come visit your facility, but the very first time I went to visit Urban Machine, about a month after I'd been working there, my husband actually came with me, and he took a trip out to Albay because he's in the lumber world, and he wanted to see. I think you actually may have met him.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was so excited. It was like a kid in a candy store. He came back with all these pictures of Eric standing on the wood, Eric in front of the wood, and I was like, "These are great marketing pictures. Thank you." Actually, I have a couple pictures I can share. Oops. There we go. So this is recent. We can zoom in.
Yeah, so that's some of the 2x4 that we've been running recently. So that came out of an apartment building in Fremont. So we brought in a couple truckloads. That was actually select demolition from, I think again, a 1960s apartment building down in Fremont, California, is where that material came from.
It's beautiful.
So, and we've done some tests on that too, where we planed it down to some smaller dimensions to see what's on the inside. And it's surprising. It's beautiful material on the inside. It's got a few nail holes in it that give it some great character, but it looks really nice.
Yeah.
There's a little more.
Yep, that's before it got planed down.
Yep.
Now the fun part, do you have the pictures where it's planed down, Jorie?
I don't. I have the machine picture.
Okay.
I can
Sure,
pull some up. I'll do that. But this is out at Albay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's our setup out there.
Okay. And that was the celebration of the transfer. Firstborn, exactly. Exactly, yeah. Oh yeah, and Eric, you were out of town for this.
I was on vacation. I planned a vacation 6 months ago, and then we finally got it out of the shop while I'm gone. So it's, once I leave, out the door it went. So I need to go on vacation more often, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. And there's the machine under the tent. And how's the tent holding up? What are you finding out there?
Works great.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. It's, Albany's a great location. They're close to the bay. So there's pretty much 10, 15 mile an hour breeze continuously blowing through their facility. So it stays cool. We threw shade up for our crews out there, whether they're operating the machine or fixing the machine. As being a startup, we break lots of things. We just had our engineers up there yesterday replacing some ball screws and some components that were failing on it and getting it back up and running. But that's really the whole point of this phase, is to take it out of the warehouse. In the warehouse, we were getting about 8 hours a week, 8 to 10 hours a week of runtime on it. And now at Albay, we're running 30 to 40 hours a week of the machine, which may not seem like a lot, but that's 4 to 5x. And so you start to see more wear and tear on items. And it's a phase we got to go through with this particular iteration of the hardware, because we want to find out what can't make it through a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month of operations. Because suddenly you're going from 30 hours a month to 160 to 200 hours a month. And that's a lot of difference in machine design, which components will survive it. And then we're also working on our workflow in terms of in-feed and out-feed, right? How do we get more efficient moving this material? We're working with Frank's yard crew on forklifts loading and unloading the machine. How do you stockpile the material? How do you inventory the dirty material and the clean material?
Right.
Which has been a huge help. Frank, how long have you been in the lumber business?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
First time
all
setting
day.
foot in this yard was probably 92, so yeah.
Yeah, he's been at it, and so his yard, it's a fully operational, efficient machine moving material, and it's a great opportunity for us to learn from it. Our engineers, I'll give you an example. Our engineers wanted to hand build carts to move, essentially the material that didn't pass the first time. And I'm like, guys, do you see anybody pushing lumber around here in carts at a lumber yard? And they're like, no. I'm like, there's a reason why. They use forklifts, right?
Yeah.
And they've got lots of forklifts, small, medium, and large, all moving lumber, because lumber's heavy. You want to move it in bundles, moving it in small carts. And they're like, oh, okay. And so we got organized. We got some of the racks that Frank's team was using, and now we move it in loads. We think about it more in bundles of wood, like their guys do at the yard, and that's much more efficient than individual pieces or dozen pieces.
Yeah.
So it's been a great site for our engineering team to learn some more about, workflows in a lumber yard that's got a mill and got an operation.
Sure. It's funny you say that. I was at a reload with Mike one time, and I was mesmerized by, it's like a ballet dance, watching them drive and pick up, and it's like you'd think they're going to crash into each other, but they have it so dialed in that they're able they know instinctually where the next person's going, and it's like in and out, and like a ballet. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, material handling, even down to the hand level, it's really an art, and you can, if you know how to do it right. There was a lot of old timers that would use about 10% of the effort as an inexperienced young buck, because it's a lot like stacking blocks at a Jenga game. So
Absolutely, and that makes a lot of sense. I found the picture. Hang on, I gotta pull it up. This is the one that Mike took when he was out at All Bay. Share. Sorry. So many clicking, so many ways. There we go. There's the wood. We can zoom in. That's after it's been planed.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all the samples that we ran out of. Each bundle basically represents one 4x16, and it is gorgeous. And it's still, it's all stored in our warehouse now, so it still looks like that 6-7 months after we've reclaimed that.
That's so beautiful, and that's what's really striking to me is just how beautiful it is. We've turned, and here he is out there before. This is before it was.
Oh, that's the glue lamp, different file, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, like that's before the process.
Yeah, those glue lamps saw the Kings lose a lot of games.
Yeah.
I gotta. Okay. Sorry, I can't multitask very well. Yeah, so it's really exciting. You said that your guys, Frank, are eager to teach our guys a little bit more. That's really
there's not much that my guys could really. I mean, they're curious as to how the machine works, and are giving pieces of advice to guys that basically have doctorates, and so.
Yeah, but we can all teach each other something, right?
Yeah. Well, most of them, especially the machine operators, have all been down there where we've been assured by our customer when we've relented to basically resaw a beam that they've pulled out of their backyard that they want to use, that there's been no metal in it, and it always happens that we would always catch one in our resaw and blow the whole blade. So being down there and seeing how the potentially dangerous that is, there's a reason most yards won't touch reclaimed lumber because of that.
Right.
Truly, this whole process, especially with the X-ray aspect and the AI taking the photographs and identifying even the smallest speck, we have yet, out of all the board footage that we've run through our old machine, of catching one piece of metal that was missed by their process.
Yeah, I might have to take that clip and show that one off. I like it.
And it's been quite a bit. I want to say we just finished off a second run for a furniture manufacturer that Eric has hooked up with. And those would be the pictures that I would love to see on what they've turned that furniture into.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's what they're making is it just shows off that tight green that you're talking about, that dark wood, that just that aesthetic that makes it so desirable. It's amazing what Corral's been doing. Eric, you were going to say something?
Completely forgot. Oh no, actually, yeah, metal free. That's the important part. That's the engineering goal I set for the engineering team is I said, guys, in order to reprocess this, we got to get anything really bigger than a staple leg out, because that can damage a rip saw, a bandsaw, a planer blade, and those are expensive. And we're sitting right next to that equipment. That is big equipment that Frank's got there on his process line, and the time it would take to replace one of those blades is a lot of money. That's downtime on their line, and so it's been a great opportunity to be up there and show the guys the equipment. Says, okay, this is what we're not going to break. This is why we have the computer vision. This is why we have all these steps. This is why we have the metal detector, and it has to be metal free. Because the engineers are always coming back to me. They're like, Eric, does it really have to be metal free? Well, if it's not metal free, I have to sell it to a whole different market, and we can't mill it, we can't plane it, we can't process it essentially into other products. It has to become a product that nobody's going to even put like a drill bit into, right? Because if I took a nice high-end electrician's drill bit and he goes ripping through a 2x4 and hits one of these screws, he's going to be pretty unhappy when it destroys his $100 drill bit. And so that's really our target, is the material that we sell has to be metal free in order to fit into the lumber ecosystem.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the technology they use on the virgin side, they're using x-rays and metal detectors and cameras, because even coming out of the forest, they find bullets, they find nails, fence posts, barbed wire, all comes with virgin lumber. So, and it's interesting to visit some of the reman folks who have come across some of that stuff before they had this technology. There was a reman facility we visited up in Portland, and he has this wall of shame where he snagged copper wire and fence posts and bullets, and he's found it all with his equipment. And he puts the piece of wood with it up on a wall, and he probably had about 25 items up there on his wall. And he's been doing this for about 40 years. He said it's gotten way better, but when they used to reman materials before they started checking for all that, they found it all in the reman process, because it would sneak through the log mill.
That's hilarious.
So.
It's kind of not hilarious, because if you're there, that's not funny at all. But reminds me of the fishing hook, like up northern Wisconsin, the fish hook wall of shame for the at the ER people
that stuck themselves.
That was a little more
I
painful.
never want to be on that one, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Some doctors are going to do this. One time I pulled this fish hook out of.
Exactly. Eyeball. Gross. All right. Well, thank you, Frank, for being on our show and for helping us test the machine and really just for being excited about something so innovative. I love it.
Thank you.
If you want to learn more about Albay, their website is albaylumber.com. And to learn more about us, urbanmachine.build.
And if you want to buy reclaimed lumber, you can hit up Frank or Jose and his team. And they've got lumber, and we'll help you guys sell it and mill it and chat with us about it as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you, Jorie. Thank you, Eric.
Cool. Thanks, guys. See you guys.
Take care.